Hello, fourth graders. This is Bible on Friday. Today is going to be a big review of the divided kingdom and the kings that we've learned about in the last couple of weeks. To be ready for this review lesson, you will want the 5 Kings paper that you did yesterday and your Bible Unit 11 review sheet. You'll probably want maybe a marker or a highlighter if you have one around the house and a good strong pencil to do some writing. You may pause the video if you need to go get those things. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to quickly go over the answers to this 5 Kings paper. These 5 kings highlight the most important kings, the kings that we've learned the most about, and let's see if you did a really good job on that. Here are the answers for the 5 kings. Let me get a little closer so you can see it really well. The sentences that were true about Rehoboam were sentences number 7, 14, 21, and 22. The sentence statements that were true about Abijah were sentences 1, 13, 18, and 24. Asa had a lot of information about him. Sentences 2, 5, 8, 11, 15, 17, and 25 all spoke of Asa. Jeroboam sentences were 3, 4, 6, 9, 10, and 12. And the statements that were true about King Ahab were sentences 16, 19, 20, and 23. I'll pause it here a moment. If you need to pause the video to make sure your answers are correct, you may copy the right answers right now. Now we're going to move on. Please take your Bible chapter Unit 11 review sheet. Now the nice thing about this review sheet is so much of the review sheet on the front side, the information is given to you already. So what I'd like to do is for you to maybe highlight. I already highlighted the first time, and I'd like you to see once if you can highlight or underline, helping you remember what's most important about some of these kings. First of all, please maybe note that this test is next Tuesday, April 21. All right, I know we have an extra long weekend, but you can begin studying today. You just have to give it a little time over the weekend so that we can charge in on Tuesday and get this test done so we can move on to new stories. So what did you learn? I hope a lot. When I think of Ahijah, I'm going to highlight he tore his robes because he was that prophet who predicted that Jeroboam would get 10 of those northern tribes. What I want to especially remember about Jeroboam is that he was the first king of Israel, that northern thing. And I also think I want to also highlight the 2 golden calves. That's something really important to know about Jeroboam. Nadab, not a real major king, but I'm going to try to remember he's Jeroboam's son. Baasha and Elah, not too much there. You can try to learn what's on there. Zimri, I'm going to remember that he was the guy that set his palace on fire. And Omri, he reigned with Tibni for that short little time. King Ahab was Israel's most wicked king. And I also might highlight his wife's name of Jezebel. Probably need to know who she is on the test as well. And Rehoboam, I'm going to remember he is the first king of Judah. And he listened to that bad advice of his friends rather than take the advice of the elders. But remember, God's hand was in that to lead this nation to be a divided kingdom. What do we want to learn about Abijah? Well, I want to remember that he pleaded with Jeroboam and the people not to resist the kingdom of the Lord. He was the guy that stood on that mountain and kind of shouted over Israel, and meanwhile was almost set up in an ambush. But I also want to remember that he won the battle with Israel because he depended on the Lord. Good King Asa. He was a pretty good king. But I know he got a disease in his feet near the end of his life, and he didn't trust the Lord for that. Ben-Hadad, kind of a minor character, but he's going to he is the king of Aram, and he received gifts from Asa. Remember, Asa took some money out of the temple treasury, gave it to Ben-Hadad to make an alliance, and that was not something that he should have done. And Hananiah, another prophet that we encountered, he confronted Asa about that sin, and he wanted, and Asa wanted nothing to do with him and ended up putting him in prison. So you definitely want to know a little bit about something on all these folks, but the yellow I think highlights the most important things you should know. Now the back side, let's get some answers going on this. I'm going to share some answers with you, but again, if you fall behind, it's okay. At the end, I'll give a little time and you can just pause the video and copy anything else you didn't get the first time. Let's begin. The first question is, why did Jeroboam set up golden calves at Dan and Bethel? Here is a good answer. He wanted to keep the people from going to Jerusalem. Dan and Bethel were convenient locations for the people. Next one. What commandment did the evil kings break? Well, Jeroboam, he set up 2 idols, those 2 golden calves. And the commandment that specifically broke was a commandment where God said, "You shall have no other gods before me." The second commandment is, "You shall not make idols for yourself." And again, Jeroboam, those 2 golden calves, set those up as idols for the people to worship. Next one. Abijah and Asa were pretty good kings. Name some good things they did in their reigns. Well, Abijah looked to the Lord while battling Israel. Abijah also led the people to worship the Lord the right way in Jerusalem with the festivals that God instituted with those Levite priests. And I want to include a little something about Asa. Asa asked for help from God when battling. How did Jezebel influence Ahab? She introduced Baal worship to Israel. Now, Israel probably did know a little bit about Baal anyway, but remember, Ahab had set up a temple for Baal right in Samaria. Next, how can you be a positive influence on others? I'm sorry that we weren't in class to discuss this together, and you might have some really great ideas on your own. But remember, we did talk about influence can be good or bad, and so we're going to try to put good influence on those around us. Here are some ideas I can think of. Maybe we can lead people to do right. We can encourage others. We can be a good example. We can show respect to others. We can do our best at school. And we can tell others about God. I'm sure you can come up with your own ideas, and I'm sure they'd be very accepted on the test. And finally, you will want to know this chart pretty well. As we think about the point of this unit was to think about how God established that divided kingdom. So in the northern kingdom, its name was Israel. It was made up of 10 tribes. The first king was Jeroboam, and the capital city was Samaria. Remember, I think it was Omri who paid some money to get the hill of Samaria, and he established that as a new capital of the north. In contrast, the southern kingdom was named Judah. It was made of 1 and sort of 2 tribes because remember, Benjamin was kind of split. The first king was Rehoboam, and the capital city continued to be Jerusalem, where the temple was. So boys and girls, here is the final paper. Hopefully you can see most of it if I do this. It's kind of hard to see the whole thing at once. But I'm just going to hold it here for a moment or two. Feel free to stop the video, copy those answers that you don't have. If I were you, I would give it some time. Study this a little bit by yourself. Ask a parent or grandparent to see if they can quiz you a little bit. But next week, Tuesday, after a long weekend, we will be having a test on this material. So please study hard. I think you've learned a lot. Please look back at any old workbook pages that might help you as well. Have a great day.